And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
When I was at Gen Con this year, this was definitely one of the biggest and best games that was there. Everyone was going to look at Cities and Thieves, and it really is a pretty game, especially if you go the extra mile and get the colored plastic miniatures, which you're not going to see in my review today. City of Thieves is a game in which each player controls a group of thieves, and you're trying to go in and steal as much stuff as you can, and then get out before the guards are alerted to everyone's presence and causing an alarm and capturing you. So it has kind of a push your luck, go and steal as much as you can, get out. But you're fighting each other too. Well, that sounds like a really awesome premise. So is this game for you? Are you someone who's interested in this style? Let's take a look at the game. Now, after watching that massive component dump, you might think that this is a game of massive complexities, and it really is not. This is a game that is much simpler than it appears to be. And I do like that the game comes with all these miniatures. I do wish that they were painted, because sometimes they're difficult to tell apart, but you can buy painted miniature versions. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to have two of these gentlemen are guards. So they'll be sitting in the middle of the board and guarding two of the spots, and you'll be moving them around as the game progresses. Each player, then, who's involved in the game is going to pick a team for themselves. They'll take the cards for that team, along with the corresponding miniatures. Now, I want you to note that each of the cards has different stats here. That's their fighting ability, that's their movement ability, and that's their mind ability, also known as picking traps. Now watch the numbers change as I change the characters. That's right, they're all the same, and they're all the same for all the teams. I'm not sure why they're even there. There are some heroes that come into some scenarios who have one different stat. There is different special abilities down here for each of the characters, and that's cool. I just don't understand why they have these stats if they were going to all be the same. But whatever, I digress. On a player's turn, as they play the game, they are going to have 7 of these in there that they will be able to use for action points to move their heroes. So on your turn, you can take one of your heroes that's on the board, and you can use an action chip to move him. And he can move throughout the alleyways. He can go inside a house here. That's what the green arrows are for. And he can, if in most of these houses, in almost all the rooms, at the beginning of the game, you're going to start with these treasure chests. And when a thief gets to a treasure chest, he has the ability to open it, which costs 1 action chip, but then he has to roll 4 or less. So there's a chance that he'll miss it. Or he can spend 2 of these to break the chest open, which means he doesn't have to roll, he just automatically gets it. Now, each of these treasure chests has different things in. Notice this one's a scroll. If you have 1 scroll, it's worth 2 points. 2 scrolls, they're worth 5 points again. And if you have all 3 scrolls, they're worth 8 points. While there's other treasures like this one where you simply roll a die and add 3 to it, and that's how many coins you get. And the coins in this game are pretty neat quality. And some things are just like this one, which are just worth 2 points each. And so on a player's turn, the first thing they do is they'll roll a die, and they pick one of these guards in the middle and move him, and hopefully move him into an enemy's player and fight that player. Or then they'll move their people with their 7 actions. Obviously, with 4 characters, they're not going to be able to move everybody and do something with everybody, but they'll do their best, go around, open up treasure chests. Characters can really only open 3 treasure chests. They can fight another character, in which case they roll a die for each point of their attack value. So again, this guy's attack value of 2, so he'd roll 2 dice. And you take your higher die and compare it to the other guy's higher die, with the attacker winning ties. If you win, you can steal gold from them, or some gold from them, or coins from them, or you can take a treasure if they're carrying a treasure. Now that's the basic concept of the game. What makes the game a little bit more interesting is that each scenario comes with this really giant board. So let's focus a little bit on this board here. And there's 8 of these. Each one is a completely different scenario. And on this scenario, you can see here that there's a spot. This keeps track of what round the game's in. There's a token for that. And as we move by here, we go through that. There's special rules for the scenario. And the game will end after a certain point. And you can see there's different boards here. Each of them's double-sided. And one of the boards, this one here, even has zombies appearing all over the board that you have to fight. And so that's interesting. It adds a little bit to the game. But one thing that all the boards have are these mission cards. And so on these mission cards, you'll see different items. And on your turn, if you have these items, you can spend 3 action chips and get gold equal to the current value of those items that you have, plus any bonus it might say on the card. And then we replace that with a new mission card. And so this really kind of drives the game, because players are going around trying to get these items because that's where the money is. Not only do you have the items, which will get you coins at the end of the game, but you can get your coins now. Once the turn range gets to a certain part, like for example here we see an alarm is set, and at that point players will start placing gates at certain entrances of the city, and everyone has to get out of the city by the final turn. If you don't get out of the city by the final turn, they have cordoned off the city and you have been caught. And that's the game. It's very simple. Go around, you fight a little bit, no one ever actually dies, although I guess you could get caught at the end of the game and imprisoned. Now, the question is here, do I like the game? Well, before I answer that, let me say that I tried this game on different people, and the one group that really took to it was a group of teenage boys. And I really think that's where this game is geared to. For me, I can't say that I dislike simplistic games. I mean, Hero Escape is one of my favorite games. It's a fun game like this. I guess for me, what kept this from becoming a really cool game was the lack of different stats on the characters. Yes, they had their own special abilities, which were cool. Maybe they can move an extra space, or they get to add one to one of their die rolls. And there's cards I didn't show you. Players will have these cards that they're able to play, one on each turn, and change the game a little bit. So, I mean, there was this different, and the scenarios are neat, like the zombie scenario, like the different scenarios. It just felt a little too fluffistic for me. That's a new term that I'm making up right now. But the boys loved it. And so if I have a group of teenage boys, which I do quite a bit, you know, in board game club at school, maybe someday I'll have my own group of teenage boys in my house. My daughter thought it was a pretty cool looking game. You know, in different settings, I think it would be great. For adults, I don't know. I don't know that you're going to find a lot of depth here. Here's what I would say. If you've played the Fantasy Flight game Tannhauser, this has a very similar level. Different feels to it. Tannhauser is more of a World War II, go around and shoot at each other. This one's here, go around and steal stuff. But they're the same kind of level of game. And while I think both games have some really interesting things, neat components, neat characters, you know, a good storyline behind the game, ultimately the game itself left me a little flat. But that does not mean I'm panning this game. I just think it has a very distinct group, and that's for teenagers or maybe even tweens or younger than that, kids who really like to get into this. This is something I could easily see sold at Toys R Us.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.